Hayden, should we do a skit? It's been a while.
Can we do the skit that we were just about to do in the first take, but now we're on the second take?
Yeah, but in the first take, the skit was that I wanted you to say no, and we'd go into the episode.
No.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Teach, Sleep, Repeat. My name is Dylan.
My name is Hayden.
And my name is Dylan.
And how are you?
I'm good, thank you. You okay?
Yeah, I'm all right. Yourself?
I'm fine, thank you. Welcome back to another episode of Teach, Sleep, Repeat. My name's Dylan.
And my name is Hayden. What is wrong with us?
And my name's Dylan.
What are we doing?
Are you all right? How you doing?
What are we doing?
I'm sorry, guys.
We need to stop.
We're completely wasting your time.
It's the Easter holidays.
Yeah. Yeah, so we've got enough time to waste, right? We're going to waste enough time. It's the Easter holidays. We are absolutely loving life. But before we get into today's episode, which is how to make the most of the holidays, I think it's something that's really quite important.
Yeah, we're doing it, aren't we?
We're making the most of the holidays. We're doing a podcast and introduce ourselves 7 times in a row.
Wow.
You can tell we got a lot of time on our hands, baby.
Oh, dear. Anyway, you all right?
Yeah, I'm good. We've had 1 week off already. We're in the middle of the 2-week holiday. I got to tell you now, straight away, everyone listening, I bet you agree that the 2 weeks is life-changing. It's so different to 1 week.
Oh, God, yeah.
It is crazy how you can switch off better. But we'll get all into that later on. Hayden, how has your week been? You've been off. What have you been up to, pal?
Well, I actually did something I've never done before at this point of the year.
Right.
I got my end-of-year reports done.
Oh,
really, really, really early. I knew I was gonna. I planned this for ages. I was like, I'm gonna do my end of year reports in the Easter holiday.
Yeah,
because I want.
Must be a really good reflection of the kids over the whole year. 2/3 of the way through.
Yeah, well, no, because there was actually, in fairness, we've left a little bit where we're just gonna add in a little bit at the end.
Just one sentence.
Just a little bit. Yeah, just a little bit.
And in the last term, they were also good.
Basically, yeah. But look, we've already had the last parents' evening, so in my eyes, it's
how
done.
many people
Done.
out there just look at their last parents' evening and go, "Okay, copy paste that into a document."
Yep,
and
I did use them
report.
because I don't know, it's different schools are different, but we write notes for parents' evening, and they were really useful. To be fair, I sat there with my notes thinking, because on our notes we put things like,
because you don't know your kids at all.
yeah, no, it's like the stats. So we quite often collate things like how much they've read, if they're doing their homework and things, and it's like, do
you think that's a waste of time or not then? Because I'm on the side of I don't want to make notes. I just talk to you about the kids.
I don't normally do it. I've just been brought around to doing it by not doing it. Someone else does it for me.
Right.
Someone else writes notes. I don't know. I quite like for the first time they were actually useful for the reports because I was like, I don't have to go and like when I'm writing about each kid, I don't have to now go and find these 3 different bits of data.
Mean so because they already exist from Parents' Evening, you have used that to write reports?
Yeah. It was.
Right.
It was. Okay. I could already tell like straight away. Okay, did they read lots at home?
Right.
Have they been doing their homework regularly?
So that time wasn't necessarily wasted, because my point on that is when it's just for Parents' Evening, I sometimes feel like it's a waste of time, because when you're sat in front of the parent, and maybe for report writing as well, actually be interested to know what you hear, there's a lot of stuff that as teachers we say at Parents' Evening or we put in the reports that I think is completely a waste of our time.
100%.
Because the parents don't care either. There's 2 things that come into this category for me. Number 1 is telling the parents how much homework they do. To me is mad. That is genuinely like the parents telling me how much maths I do in school. It's like, oh, you have to just find out through the kid and hope you're right, because I don't actually know how much reading you do at home.
Oh, did you know your child's not reading? Yeah, I do, because they live with me.
I'm at home. Oh, actually, then they are reading. I just don't write it in the report, which is the only thing, the book that you get every week to go off, because I'm guessing. Yeah. And the other thing is when you're at Parents' Evening, nothing cringes me more than when you see a teacher sit there and say to a parent, they're doing really well with their conjunctions, but they could very much work on their frontal adverbial clauses. And the parents are just being polite and they're just like, and they've got no idea what you're saying.
Yeah.
Complete waste of time.
Yep.
Only in Parents' Evening. However, I don't know, with reports, is that information more useful then? I guess I don't know, because it's written down like forever. Yeah. It's a keepsake.
I suppose it's more useful in terms of it's easier to remember than when they've been sat there being told their kid can't do conjunctions. Like, yeah. I don't know. I was quite
I agree,
particular
though, I think,
with the reports this time. So in the past, I have done that thing where I always end up writing a few sentences where I'm like, why am I writing this? Like, it's just jargon. It's
got to fill the gap, mate.
Yeah, genuinely. That's what it's been in the past. Is I'll fill the gap with these. It's just pointless. So I was really quite strict this time with my general comments, which, for anyone not in the report world, the general comments is kind of like the one, it's not about a subject, it is just about the child in general in the class.
The most important one, in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely the most important one. Spent the most time on those. But I just kind of wrote myself a bullet point list before I started of the types of things I want to mention, and none of them really were about like specific parts of subjects.
You didn't mention how good they were at modal verbs.
Yeah, no, not at all. Not in general comment. I really just focused on things like their behaviour in class, what they've been like as a person was like half the paragraph for everyone. Just like what kind of person they are.
But that's when you want to read as a parent.
Yeah, that's what I think. That's what I think. And then if they had a particular interest in a subject, like if I've thought actually that they loved our history units this year, then I'll just put a sentence in but saying, oh, they really loved our history. You know, perhaps there's an interest there they can explore further.
Do you do that thing where you hand out to your class like a pro forma of questions? Because but the point being, anyone again who's not in the teaching world probably doesn't know what we're talking about here. And if you're a parent, we're opening your eyes to actually how reports work here, because it's really hard to write off the top of your head really detailed, nice reports for every single child in your class without a little bit of help or a little bit of organization. But again, I always find it so strange when you hand out this pro forma and it might have questions on it to the children, like, what was your favorite subject this year? Which project did you enjoy doing the most? Who are your best friends in class? All that kind of stuff. And then you sit through, and when you write a report, you'll have that pro forma in front of you and you'll put that information into a report. I can see the benefit of it, but I don't like doing it because
it feels weird.
It feels really weird. It's basically like I'm not writing it almost. It's the children writing their own report.
Yeah, and I'm pretending I knew it.
Yeah, and how useful is it really for a parent to read who their kids' friends are on a report? Ask your kid.
It's been lovely to see insert name, socializing with insert name and insert name, and that you've forgotten to change it.
Well,
you know?
I guess on that point, I guess I'm a hypocrite because I don't like that. Yeah. However, the use of AI, I'm all for when it comes to reports. And I think there is a slight difference. And I think what we'll have to do again, you can talk about briefly in a second, but I think we'll do another whole episode on report writing. I think we'll do a whole episode around it, what's involved, the teacher's perspective, maybe get a few perspectives of parents, what they want to hear and stuff like that. So if you do have kids at school or you're a teacher, either perspective, do get in touch and let us know your thoughts on reports, how you write them, how you use them. But very quickly, Hayden, you were telling me how you were using AI again. We talked about this last year. It was one of our biggest episodes about using AI for reports. Big debate. Not going to get into it now, but you used it. How did you find it this time around?
I just think it's so useful. But I can fully appreciate and understand the misconception around it, though. Because I remember last year someone said to me, just on Facebook, a teacher was like, "Oh, I'll never use AI to write my reports," and their point was, it's not personal. It's a computer writing it. And my counter argument was, no, it's absolutely personal because I'm telling the computer all of those personal things, and all it's doing for me is just putting it into a paragraph, like structuring it for me, which I continue to argue. I think these are the best reports I've ever written in my life because I was really able to focus my time on thinking about the child, and informally, what I did was I used TeachMate AI. There are other tools as well that do it. But I used Mr. P's TeachMate, and I literally just listed, with commas in between, very informally, like didn't make any sense, just all of the nice things about this child that I wanted to put into the report. And if there were any areas for development, you put them in as well. Sometimes they weren't. I literally just wanted to say all these nice things. I was like, no, this kid's just pure. There's just nothing to work on. Just need to carry on doing what they're doing. And then I press a button, and then it takes away the next 10 minutes of my time, which is just formulating those things into nice formal sentences.
Because you're not an author at the end of that is like an authorial, like, you know, skill set. Is to beautifully present and be a wordsmith and make it breathe. Like that's not actually part of our job at all. You've done the part of your job, which is knowing your children, writing what you want to put in there. To me, genuinely, it won't be long before it's seen on the same level as spell check. Like no one now. If you write down definitely and you put an A in the wrong place and spell check puts a red line and you click on it and change it, no one's the bloody computer wrote that. You don't know to spell that. No, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because you know what? I still know what I want to write.
Well, I've got a question for you because this is what someone said to me last year. I have an answer for it, but I want to know if you've got something on top of it.
And I know the answer. But
no, it's just my opinion on this, right? So they said, okay, then, Mr. Using AI, this person was not happy that, using AI. He was like, okay, anyone that uses AI, I think it should say at the bottom of the report, this report was generated using AI. Would you be happy to have that on the report sent to parents?
Would I actually care? No. But do I think it's remotely necessary? Also no. I don't think it wouldn't. I would have no problem. I think if I had a problem saying to a parent, AI helped me write these reports, I think I shouldn't use it. So I think if I have a problem letting parents know that was used, then that's something that I shouldn't do. If I'm trying to hide that fact. Yeah. But I think I would have no problem saying to parents, I used AI. I think the problem would be on the end of the receiver of them having these misconceptions and thinking that was wrong and them having a problem with it. That would be annoying. Yeah. But I personally think if I'm happy to use AI to write reports, I also think people should be happy to say they used AI.
Yeah,
I think that weird middle ground of I'm happy to use it, but I shouldn't say it. Like, well, then you've got a disconnect there. Something's wrong.
I think it was a really loaded question because I think it plays on the fact that the majority of parents, especially last year when it was really new, absolutely don't know anything about how it works.
Yeah, exactly.
And will just assume that it's not personal when it's just a computer's just generated your comment.
Yeah.
So I think I'd quite happily put AI has generated these reports. If it also came with a bit of understanding explanation on how exactly AI was used.
Yes.
Because I think if a parent was told what we've just said about how it's all those personal things put into a place that we've thought about and typed up, and then it just formulates it into a paragraph for you, they'd be like, oh, that's nice. Yeah. That's fine. Yeah. And if they're not, it's sort of like, oh, I didn't realize you were reading the reports to judge my writing style. I thought you were reading the report to find out, how your child is at school. I didn't. Exactly. Sorry, I'll make sure that my writing style is the forefront of.
Or if the AI somehow has like scanned all of their books and come up with the thing themselves, then that would, to me, that would be an issue. Then I think, and I think maybe eventually people will start thinking that's not like I don't know, but right now at this point, as the teacher. I have full autonomy over what gets inputted into the AI. Then the AI does its work. Then it gets an output, and I don't just put that in the box and not read it. I read the output. Then I'll do any edits I need to. And we've said this a million times. I don't think it's an issue.
Because I could imagine if there was an AI thing, right, where it was just a couple of drop down menus that was just like, are they? It was like scale of are they nice or not?
Yeah.
Do they work hard or not?
1 to 7.
What's their behavior like?
Yeah.
And then you press a button and it just makes up.
Yeah.
It just like pretends as if it knows, but that would be different.
Well, I'll tell you something. You've essentially described what happened previously.
Yeah, I know.
Which was you'd go into Twinkle. So again, anyone who's got reports of children is thinking, what a lovely report. just like get like 7 from your class and read them all, because what used to happen beforehand. And I never did this, by the way.
And not everyone, by the way, but a lot of people.
But a lot of people use it, and you know what? I don't actually want to rip them at all because it's a horrible process that takes so much of our own time, and it made it quicker for people. But I never liked using these because what basically you would get is this Twinkle document, let's say. It could be from anywhere, but there was some on Twinkle that a lot of people used. You'd go in and they would have these banks of sentences, right? So you would have these columns, let's say 7 columns to form, each column's a sentence, and it makes a paragraph at the end. So you're on like the tab for maths, let's say. And then in this first column, it will have loads of determined sentences about their place value knowledge. And it might be fantastic at place value, often pushing themselves to problem solving questions. Good at place value, sometimes makes some mistakes with carrying numbers.
All the way down.
All the way down to needs adult support every day with place value, but trying hard kind of thing. And then you would pick a sentence from 1 manually, go to 2, pick a sentence from 2 manually. And again, you're building it as the teacher, so you are still putting what you think, but it is very much more close to what you said, which is just predetermined procedural. The computer's just completely writing it for you. Whereas AI is such a good middle ground to me because I can sit there with maybe some data or my own brain and my experience of these children and just write down beautifully behaved, works really well in the group, has a lot of close friends.
And you can do specific things as well.
Has represented the school in football.
I was even putting in things like they've developed a really nice friendship with and putting a name in it. Like really, really personal, specific things. And it just put it into a sentence for me. And if it didn't, and I'll tell you what, one thing I will say is though, there was not a single report that I just copied and pasted though. Every single one, there was still just a tiny bit of tweaking needed. Like just the odd sentence taken out or a little thing added in where I was like, I can't think of a way to word this for the AI to put in, so I'm just going to write a sentence at the end myself. But it cut out 95% of that time.
Okay. Here's a question to finish off this report chat.
Yeah.
With you having used your AI for reports now, from last year and this year, you've already said that you would rank them as the best reports you've written.
Yeah, 100%.
But my question to you is, do you feel like they are more individualized than ever before?
Yes, definitely. Because in the past, I would just get so burnt out from the sentence writing process that once I got to the 23rd person that I'm doing,
who are they similar to?
Yeah, genuinely, it would just be, I'd literally be either physically copying and pasting someone else's report and changing names and just a few sentences, or subliminally writing the exact same thing, because there's only so many different ways you can think of writing the same sentence about someone that's well behaved. Whereas AI, just every single one was unique.
They are beautifully behaved. They are amazingly behaved.
Their behaviour is beautiful.
They are amazingly beautifully behaved. They are behaved in an amazingly beautiful way.
Yeah, I think there's just a weird stigma around it. I think report writing could be streamlined massively, kept very personal, but AI can do the groundwork.
And you found Teachmate was good with that?
Teachmate was really good. Yeah, ChatGPT really good. Any AI tools are just really good. I think what Teachmate does is basically just takes I imagine it takes something like ChatGPT and it just puts it into an already structured way. It just speeds up the
Easier
process
to
a
use.
bit. Easier to use.
Yeah, because I used ChatGPT last year and it was absolutely fine.
Yeah.
It was cool. That was a nice little side chat. I loved that.
Yeah,
I loved that.
Yeah.
So
we'll come back to reports.
Yeah, we'll come back to reports. We'll do a whole episode on that. Well, that was the episode basically. What we'll do is we'll put that 15 minutes into ChatGPT. Say, can you write a script for an hour-long episode? And it'll be a brilliant episode. No problem at all.
It'll be quite funny to do that one day.
Yeah,
do an AI episode, like where it's generated, fully scripted.
God, I can't imagine doing a podcast scripted. Anyone who's listened to this podcast, like for more than 3 episodes, like, you guys scripted?
We don't even plan it.
You'll be pleased to know, guys, that it's actually scripted right now. We're reading everything, every single word off a prompt. So you'll be pleased to hear that. So apart from that, I've heard some news about you.
Oh,
yeah. I think what is it? We're in April. I think it was in February. You said you were going to join me on this No Sugar crusade.
That was in January.
It was in January, was it? How's that been going for 3 months?
Stuff
How
got
was
in
Easter?
the way.
Yeah.
Easter was great. I had a lot of Easter. I mean, I really tried hard not to eat my Easter eggs.
Did you?
I tried hard.
How many Easter eggs did you get as an adult 31-year-old man?
Probably like 5.
That's decent.
That was good.
Yeah, that's
they
decent.
went in 2 days.
Yeah. Past 30, you'd be lucky to get one, honestly. They went in 2 days.
2 days. 2 days gone. All 5.
That is mad, isn't it?
All 5.
Yeah.
Yeah, really crazy.
So come on, what are you doing? Come on.
Well, okay,
Come
right.
on.
I'm
Hold
sick
yourself
of it.
accountable like you did last time and it did absolutely nothing. Do it again. So come on.
I'm sick of it, guys. I'm sick of it. I'm putting on weight again. He's losing weight. He's like 2 stone down.
I think if we both stood on the scale in January and now, same amount of weight still between us.
The other way around.
Yeah, it's just leveled out.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. I've put on like a stone since January. He's lost 2
Oh
stone.
no, we'd be much lighter.
So I'm joining him. I'm sick of it. I feel tired every day. I'm just constantly. I wake up feeling absolutely exhausted. No
My
energy.
favourite realisation was on the tired thing, and you'll know what I'm going to say because we said it before.
Yeah.
And it was almost like an epiphany moment where, I used to feel so tired. I think what didn't help was genuinely, I don't know, a lot of you guys out there still do this, and I know how tough it is. Genuinely working full time in a school during term time is unbelievably exhausting, and we'll talk about that later about holidays and stuff. But I used to then, got to a Friday, I'd have a really good night's sleep. Like honestly, I'd go to bed between 8 and 9. And I wouldn't get out of bed till 10. This was pre-Rory, when we could get up whenever we wanted. We slept all the way through the night.
Yeah.
I'd wake up after 11, 12 hours sleep and still feel like crap.
Yeah.
And still feel awful and still feel tired. And at that point, I remember we said, oh, it's not lack of sleep that's making me tired.
Yeah.
There are other reasons why you feel exhausted. And it's not always just lack of sleep. And when we got enough sleep and still felt terrible, it's our horrendous diet. And I tell you what, it's hard to compare now because since I started No Sugar, I've had a newborn. Yeah. And Rory's 6 months today,
so
by the way.
Exhausted.
Half a year of Rory's crazy. Absolutely love it. But it's, I genuinely, at any given point right now, feel much less tired than I used to.
Yeah.
When I didn't have Rory, but I was eating crap.
I feel horribly tired right now. And I will do all day.
You
Thanks.
look it.
Do you know what I did?
You actually do look tired.
I do.
Yes, I didn't.
I'm finding that I'm getting proper like purple baggy eyes like every day, no matter how much sleep I get. And I'm like, it's diet. It's diet. It's sugar.
Yeah.
Sugar is just so bad.
So what do you think about sugar? I saw something recently, so I'm interested in your opinion. Do you think sugar's addictive? Do you think you've got an addiction?
Yeah. I think
because it can undermine other addictions sometimes. I think people worry about that.
Yeah,
That's the big worry with it.
We'll come around to that. I don't know if I'm addicted to sugar, but I don't know. I guess I am, but I'm addicted to chocolate. Because if you offered me a bag of Haribo right now, I'd be like, no. But if you gave me an Easter egg, I'd eat a whole Easter egg right now. Like right this day, just for context, it's the morning right now. I haven't even had breakfast yet.
It's 26 minutes past 9.
And I would devour an Easter egg right now. But I wouldn't even eat breakfast right. Do you know what I mean? I see that as a problem. The fact that I'd eat chocolate is
so you're
my
not
highest
actually
priority.
hungry. You're not actually
I'm not hungry right now.
Yeah.
But my highest priority of food at all times in terms of what I fancy eating is always, I'm not joking, it is always chocolate first. Like no matter what.
So you made a good point there of like you wouldn't scoff a you wouldn't scoff a Haribo bag. Nope. You wouldn't sit there with a bag of 1 kilogram sugar, scooping it into your mouth like I just really need this sugar.
Like it's not an addiction like drugs, like class A drugs that are like horribly
but
life-ruiningly addictive.
Is it like an amalgamation then? If you're saying it's chocolate, is it like, because I know exactly what you feel. People listening to this will know the same thing. They really want some chocolate. They know they shouldn't, but they're like, do you know, I'll have a bit, I'll have a little bit. And it feels unreal whilst you're eating it. Like when it's in your mouth, genuinely the texture, and you just chewing away. And You're like, this is just what I wanted.
And baby, keep going.
How many seconds after you finish that mouthful do you revert back to base?
Yeah, like 30 seconds. Yeah. It's such a small, whatever the word is.
Go on.
I don't know what that's.
Small.
Don't know.
Yeah.
What's the word?
I don't know.
You don't know either.
Is
such
it
a small cool down.
Oh, okay.
A cool down of like,
But then I sometimes feel like I feel worse. Like it doesn't get me to the base. It gets me to lower than the base. I want some more chocolate still.
Yeah, then you get a massive sugar high. And they always talk about, sugar highs and sugar dips and that. Absolutely real. The amount of times we've been sat here doing some work in our offices and I've just devoured some chocolate and then half an hour later I can't think. And I just think, I need to go and lay down. I'm tired. It's terrible. Basically, the crux of this story is I need to grow up.
Yeah.
This needs to stop. Genuine. Like it's actually ruining my life.
Yeah.
Genuinely. And it's probably knocking years off my life. Yeah. Because sugar is terrible and I'm eating way, way, way over the daily recommended, allowance of sugar every single day.
Do you know, someone said, I read somewhere, maybe it was your Lauren actually was talking about it. I think it's you're allowed 30 grams of sugar a day.
It's tiny, whatever it is, yeah.
30 grams of sugar. But my point here is that sounds like quite a lot of sugar every single day now that I don't eat any sugar, right? And I'm sure I obviously have some sugar in other things, but I don't eat sugary stuff. But then when you actually, honestly, you've seen this before. We all work in schools. Most of us who listen to this podcast. You've seen the displays where they have sugar cubes underneath like the drinks and stuff.
Yeah.
30 grams of sugar is genuinely a quarter of an Easter egg.
Yeah.
Like it's, and I know, I get it. I get it when people are like, oh, just enjoy Easter, just have fun. I completely agree. Of course you should. And if you have 3 eggs in a day, don't worry about it. But you know what? You might be normal and then go the next 2 weeks without any chocolate.
I'll do that 365 days a year. It just won't be Easter eggs. It'll be other chocolate.
But I used to, on the way from home, I used to nip into Tesco pretty much every day or the corner shop. Right, simply to get snacks, knowing I had dinner soon. But I was like, no, I want a whole share bar of chocolate, and I'll eat it. Right, I'll eat it in the car from the way home. Sorry, from the way from the shop to home. Yeah, and it will be gone, and I'll get in, and then I don't have to tell Lauren I had any, and then it's gone. I have to share it.
I'll eat my dinner anyway. Then I'll have a snack after dinner.
Or I'll eat one half of my dinner. I won't even eat it because I'll be full then, and I'll have.
It's terrible.
It's such a cycle, and do you know what you've got to do sometimes? Is just break it and just. Don't do it and convince yourself. I have an argument with myself probably 4 times a week, which is an argument against myself because I think, I can have a bit. It's been long enough. I can have a bit of sugar. I'll have a chocolate bar. And I have to argue with myself at least 4 times a week saying, no, number 1, you simply don't need it. Number 2, it will not make you feel better. And number 3, you will not stop after you start.
This is why I think it is an addiction. Yeah. Because you know how, like, if you're addicted to anything else, for example, the most common addiction, alcohol in terms of the type of drug. Alcohol is a very, very, very common addiction. And it's like, you wouldn't go up to an alcoholic and say, oh, well done, you've not had alcohol for 6 months. Here's a little bit of it.
Yeah. It's famously the opposite, isn't it?
Like, every alcoholic ever that's managed to stop drinking alcohol will tell you they cannot have a single one. Yeah. If they have one drink, they will spiral.
And they always describe themselves as alcoholics still. Yeah. Like they could be sober for 9 years. I'm an alcoholic. I've been sober for 9 years.
And I know, and I don't want to pretend that me eating chocolate is as bad as it's not as bad. I get it, but there is a similarity in terms of, for example, in January, I did the no sugar for like 2 weeks, right? And then it was Lauren's birthday and stuff, and we had a bit of cake, a bit of chocolate cake. The second I ate one single piece of chocolate, I spiraled and I lost it. And I've done that multiple times in my life where I don't take it seriously, which is why I said to you, because the other week Dylan was round and you were going to eat a cream egg or something like that.
I was probably not going to, but I was as close as I'd been in a long time.
I could tell you were quite close. And I was just really brutal with you. And I was like, no, if you do that, you'll put all your weight back on within 3 months. That's my bet. I'll put money on it.
You didn't say 3 months, mate. You said like 3 weeks.
Yeah, it's not like whatever I said, But I was being serious. And I think you take it seriously as well in terms of knowing that. Because it's true.
It's true.
We're terrible. I am addicted
We're in our 30s
to chocolate.
now. That it's a pattern for us. Yeah. Okay, it's a pattern. We've been chatting about this long enough now. I think anyone listening, if you feel the same way, let us know. Because is it just us? I don't know. But like, I genuinely have a problem, and I spend some point every week arguing against myself. Don't do it because you simply don't need to. Yeah, simple as that.
It's really hard. I'm going to give it a go, and we'll keep me accountable. Yeah, we'll see how it goes.
We will. Anyway, I love this. This intro has turned into like not even an intro. Yeah, it's brilliant. I think for this episode, what I'll do, I'm going to revert back to our old little 3 parts, and we'll talk about all 3 different things.
Oh, that's nice, isn't it?
Yeah, because then get more people listening. Guys, if you love this episodes, which I know you do, if you listen this far, if you've listened to 25 minutes of this absolute tosh, then you obviously love listening to the episode. Can you please give us a review on Spotify. And can you please get in touch with us on Instagram? It's the place to be, okay? Go to Instagram, send us a message, get involved in the polls, and like literally every single meme I've made ever. My most recent meme was linked to what we're going to talk about today. It was a Who Wants to Be a Millionaire meme. And it was fun doing it because obviously I've been on the real thing, so it was.
You've been on the real thing.
Oh, I didn't. Sorry, I wasn't going to actually mention it, but
Dylan's been on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire.
Oh, well, sorry, yeah.
And he did well.
I tell you what, that question that I made, much harder than my £125,000 question. Oh, God, honestly. But yeah, so we're going to talk in this episode all about how to make the most of the summer holidays.
School holidays.
And the summer holidays. I wish it was the summer holidays. The school holidays in general. And have a little chat because there's perceptions, there's ideas, and teachers spend it very differently. So I think it's going to be a nice chat. Shall we play the jingle?
Cue it. Come on, pal.
Don't touch me. Oh, welcome back. I hate when he touches me. Welcome back, guys. You really throw me off now. I don't know what to say. God.
Dylan earlier, I've got to say this.
I know what you're going
to say. when he got here to come record, I was waiting for him, and I just happened to look outside my office window, which goes out to the front of the house. And I looked out and just saw his car there, and I saw him in it, just looking really like grumpy for some reason. And he was looking at my house, and I was thinking, what's he doing? I was just staring at him thinking, I wonder if he'll look up and see me. And he just didn't move. I was like, what is he doing? It was ever so slightly lightly raining. Very, like, you know when it's like that fine mist rain? It's not even rain, really.
It was raining.
And so I lose my phone thinking, he's clearly going to text me. Or something's going on. And he texts me saying, I'm not getting out of this car till that front door opens. I'm not... Get to the front door because it's raining. I'm not going to... He doesn't want to walk in the rain for more than 3 seconds.
Who wants to walk in the rain? I hate the rain and I hate the wind. April is the worst month. Oh, April showers. It's not funny. It's horrible. And the wind as well. Oh my God. I don't mind if it's hot or cold because I can dress appropriately. But if the wind is blasting 40 miles an hour in my face, I can't do anything about that. And at the meantime, pitter patter. Who wants pitter patter, pitter patter, pitter patter on their neck?
Anyway, join us after the jingle when we're going to talk about the school holidays.
Okay, we laid some ground rules. Hayden's not going to touch me anymore, and we're not going to talk about bloody rain or wind. Anyway, guys, we're here. We're going to talk about the holidays because we are in the middle of the Easter holidays. And for me, if I was to rank the holidays in order, Easter holiday probably comes top 2.
Yeah.
I'd say it's up there.
Christmas?
It's needed. No, I put summer first.
Yeah, summer first, obviously.
Oh, right, I see.
Second?
No. I put, in my opinion, I genuinely put summer, then Easter, then Christmas.
I suppose, why? Go on, why?
Because the further through the school year, the more burnout I feel.
Yeah, true.
Simple as that. And I think right now, I absolutely love these 2 weeks because I also feel like the 2 weeks are completely within my control. Whereas Christmas, you get 2 weeks, but
busy.
But you're not though, are you? Because you have to go and do stuff. Like you don't actually have a choice around Christmas.
Christmas Eve. There's all that. To be fair, there is lots of stuff on.
I feel like with these 2 weeks, I have complete control of the 2 weeks. I can manage what I'm going to do. I can schedule stuff, and we're going to talk about that in a second, how to make the most of it. But I would say my top 3 holidays of the school year. Yeah. Summer holidays number 1, Easter holidays number 2, Christmas holidays number 3.
Agree. And normally I wouldn't even do reports on Easter. I'd actually have a proper break. But the only reason I'm doing it is because next half term we're going to Centre Parks. And I thought, do you know what? I'm just going to try and get as much done as I can and just have that 2 weeks off.
I might join you. I might join you as well. Or I might not.
At Centre Parks. You are invited.
I might do my reports at Centre Parks.
Yeah.
Whilst you're off paying £700 for a 15-minute
swimming pool.
Dry ski experience. Let's talk about Centre Parks another day. Anyway, making the most of holidays.
Yeah.
So my first question to you is, what do you actually do in the holidays? Because we kind of had a little 5-minute chat before this because we knew we were going to talk about the holidays. We spent a good 60 seconds in our own head trying to think what we've done in these holidays that's already happened. So for you, you get to the end of a long term, you're a little bit burnt out, you've been working hard. We all know teaching's crazy in terms of the amount of overtime we have to do, and it's not just a 9-to-5 job. It's really intense for a good 6 or 7 weeks. You finally get to your holidays. What are you doing?
First couple of days, I try to do absolutely nothing. And by nothing, I don't mean just laying in bed all day, because we can't now. We've got kids. And the version of nothing now is just like, we had a home day the other day where I said to Lauren, I was like, can we just not go and see anyone or do anything today? Because we quite often will take her out or go to my mum's or her mum's. I was like, can we just stay at home? and just chill out.
Yeah.
I just want to sit down for a bit. So a couple of those days. I mean, it's different because I think with us, because we've got our business as well, we don't really get a break with that.
No.
Like we're kind of just non-stop grinding the business a bit. So I feel like there's always something to do. But I know pre-business, I would try and have a break.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess we can talk about the difference between pre and after kids. I think pre-kids, when the holidays came around, I absolutely loved the complete freedom it gave me. And I think we shouldn't pretend as teachers that we like to talk doom and gloom. I like to talk doom and gloom. I like to complain about things.
Yeah, of course.
But we have to sometimes, and I think holidays is one of those things, we simply have to just admit that it's bloody good. And it is, we are lucky to get these holidays. And I know that people are burnt out, and I know we need them. People always say, yeah, but we need them because we work so hard. Correct. But it's also still bloody good. And there's still a lot of people who do a lot of overtime. And I know it's not the same overall as teaching. People might be listening to this as teachers, be like, "Oh, you can't say that." It's like, well, I can, can't I? Because the holidays are bloody good. Yeah. And I don't know. I feel like pre-kids, especially when the holidays came around, I absolutely enjoyed cordoning off time. That was a big thing for me. And I'm thinking how to make the most of the summer holiday, any school holiday. It would be taking. I'm going to say summer holiday this whole episode to make the most of any school holiday. For me, I think it's about really controlling your time. And I think you have to cordon off things and say, okay, I'm going to plan when I do stuff. So if I know I've got work to do, a little bit of work to do. I know I've got time where I just want to decompress, and I know I've got time where I want to see family. To me, they're three friends, or they're three very different things. And I think it's so important to just decompress as a teacher and have those days where you are not at a beck and call of anyone. Yeah. And it's interesting. How did you find that with the baby? Because before the baby, you could very easily just sit in this room, play a game for 3 hours, go downstairs, watch Simpsons for 3 hours, like just have the day where you just to yourself.
Can't do that now.
How do you find the difference now that we've got the youngsters? Like, can you actually switch off? Did you feel like you switched off?
A little bit, but you have to plan. You have to properly plan ahead. Like I was talking to Lauren saying that I want to do the reports this half term. And she was like, okay, in the past, it would have just been just any old day where we wouldn't do anything, just get them done. Yeah. We'll work on them across a couple of days. She was like, but this time she was like, okay, can we put a date in the diary then when you're going to do the reports? Because otherwise we're just going to be waiting around, like to maybe do stuff with her, or it's not as fun now just staying indoors all day when you've got a child that will start screaming if you don't do things. So I find we have to be a bit more organised now to actually plan. So I did. I was like, okay, I'm going to do my reports on this day, by the way. Oh, when you're going out for this thing, so perfect. You go and do that. Go and see my family, and I'll do my reports.
I can't say what happens. It really cracks me up. Hayden stays at home, and we'll say, like, we'll be talking in the group chat, and then your girlfriend Lauren will say, "Oh, I'm going to Hayden's mum's," right? And I'll be like, "Oh, that's nice of the three of them." And then like half an hour later, I'll jump on my computer and you're playing Helldivers 2. Like, wait a minute, I thought you were going to Hayden's mum's. No. Lauren and River go and see Hayden's family without Hayden now.
I never do it to play a game. I do it to do.
All right,
get stuff done. All right. I'd write my reports. But basically, she went to a family gathering of my family.
It was someone's birthday, wasn't it?
Yeah. And I was like, well, you go to that, and that'll be a perfect time for me to write reports. In my head, it was a win because I was like, I don't have to go to the family gathering. Horribly unsociable. And also, like, if Lauren goes to that, who will enjoy it more than me anyway, I can also get my reports done not in a time where we're actually going to be together, like doing our own thing. So that it was a win-win.
I got a question on that because it's linked to the holidays, but also linked to having a kid, right? Do you feel like in either of the situations, the fact you have a child or the fact you're on school holiday, do you feel like people kind of feel like they're owed your time? Like, well, you're on holiday, so come and see this, come and do this. Well, you've got time off, or you've got the baby now. I'm going to come over and see the baby, and it's like, am I no longer in control of what I do?
I've not really experienced that, but I am quite stubborn. Yeah. And I think I've built up people know that I'll just be like, no, go away. Yeah. No, I've not personally experienced that. So.
I think sometimes in the holidays it can be, well, you're off, so can you come and do this favor for us? Or you're off. Like, I don't know. I don't personally feel that way. I wondered if you did, because I hear a lot of people say that kind of thing where, there's a perception, isn't there, of teacher holidays where, lazy bunch of buggers who
I get taken the mick out of all the time. My family are like, oh, on holiday again? Not working again, are we? Classic teachers doing nothing.
And that's even worse when we only work 3 days a week.
I know. It's an awkward one, but there's a massive perception out there. I think if you find anything on Facebook or anything on any forum, right, that says, that's just talking about teacher holidays.
Yeah.
You look at the comments, 90% of them will be people complaining that teachers get way too much time off and the job's way too easy. They're just getting all this time off. Like, why wouldn't you want to be a teacher?
Well, think of their perspective if they've got kids who go to school. They've got to work, but now suddenly their kid's at home for 2 weeks.
And their teacher's off.
That's really annoying.
Yeah.
Isn't it? Really?
Yeah.
Like, let's just switch it up for a minute. And again, I know the vast majority of our listeners are teachers and stuff, but let's just be realistic for a minute. Let's just switch it up. Why wouldn't they feel resentful? Why wouldn't they? They're not fully informed about what the job's like.
Well, I was going to say that's why they shouldn't feel resentful. Just get informed.
Yeah, but even if they were informed, there's going to be a lot of individuals out there who are like, yeah, I do 60-hour weeks. Yeah, I work bloody hard. I work 60 hours a week. I've got a 40-hour contract and I do 15 to 20 hours overtime every week to make ends meet. And now my kid's off for 2 weeks and I've got to find childcare, which means all the overtime is pointless. So I've got to pay someone to look after my kids.
Yeah.
You're getting time off.
And you go on Facebook and the teacher's complaining whilst having a glass of wine at home about, I've got to do some planning this week.
Yeah. So I don't know. Where do you stand on that? Do you think, are working parents justified in their annoyance?
No.
Do you not?
No, I don't think so. I don't think they're justified in their annoyance.
Why not?
At teachers on a personal level, which is what it is.
Sure.
I think they can be justified in being frustrated by the education system, which means they have to,
it's a bit archaic, isn't it?
Look after their children for a couple of weeks. No, I'm not even saying that in like a sarcastic way.
But there's a lot of people who say that as well. Don't have kids if you can't look after them. It's like, well, that's not realistic either, is it?
No, and we've built a whole society around it. Like, I can understand the frustration of we've got to a level in society where both parents have to work 50 hours a week just to pay rent or like a basic mortgage on a low cost house, and they can't, and it's not even built in that they can have the school holidays with their kids without having to take some financial hit. Yeah. I get it. That's really frustrating. That's probably going to annoy us at some point. I don't know. It depends what we do at that time.
If we leave teaching, and we obviously have our children and they're off school for 2 weeks, and it's like, well, I can't not work, and Lauren can't not work.
Yeah.
So either we've got to hope and pray that we've got someone who can have them for 2 weeks, or take a holiday off where we only get 4 weeks, and you're predetermining this. And by the way, I'm off when everyone else is off and stuff's more expensive. I can't have no control anymore.
But
it's annoying.
But going online and then getting annoyed at teachers on an individual level because they get holiday.
Choosing a job where that holiday is predetermined. We didn't choose to go on holiday. We chose this job. I think partly because the holidays are so good.
And they're normally not even getting annoyed at that. They're getting annoyed at the idea that teachers are complaining about their job in any aspect because of this. Yeah. That's where I'm like, no, it's not justified. Because I think that's just selfish thinking. It's just classic. It's a race to the bottom. My experience is bad, so how dare you? I'm assuming your experience is not as bad, so how dare you complain about it? It's like, no, you just don't understand the nuances of being a teacher. There's the reason hundreds of thousands of teachers complain about it and get upset about it and are burned out and quit is probably because it's true. Yeah. And maybe it is actually tricky, and maybe those holidays don't justify the workload that you as a non-teacher might think. I don't know. So I don't think it's ever justified. I think the frustration is understandable, but I think the slagging off teachers because they're complaining, they're trying to make the job better. Yeah.
That is the ultimate comeback for me. Is like, okay, whatever you think about the job, right? Whatever you think, based on whatever your experiences are, you can't say it's easy. You can't say it's cushy. Simply because if it was, you'd be doing it.
Yeah, that's the best one.
And we wouldn't be leaving in droves. Like that. It's not even an argument. It's not even up for debate that this is an easy job. Yeah. Constantly in the top 3 for the most stressed professions in the whole country ever. Constantly having a problem with recruitment. So it's not even viable enough to get people to come in. People don't want to get into the job. Yeah. And also people are already in the job. People who have already moved up the ladder, by the way, and have actually got to what we would describe as an okay salary.
And experienced the holidays.
And experienced the holidays and done the job are saying, this is too much, goodbye.
Yeah,
like,
still don't
there you go. It's not an argument anymore.
Yeah. Basically, every single ex-teacher that I know has unanimously said that whatever their new job is so much better for mental health and workload.
Yeah. And the same thing for, we talk about Paul sometimes in this podcast, who had a career before he got into teaching. Paul and I trained at the same time. And I just always remember in that year of training where I kind of brushed it off and I was like, oh, okay, yeah, well, that's what I want to do. But he would constantly say, you don't understand. This is not a normal job. He did a normal job. He worked 40 hours a week. In fact, he didn't, because he used to have Friday afternoons off. Very classic. You know, he would work all week, and then Friday he'd clock off at like 1 or 2.
Yeah.
Go home early, pick the kids up from school, take them home, have a dinner together and stuff like that. And he'd earn more, and he would not take any work home. And he just said it's completely different. It is not comparable. So I agree. I mean, I'm being a bit of devil's advocate here talking about it, but I don't think it's justified. I think you have to have a bit of critical thinking every now and then, and think you cannot simply just point to these holidays and say, well, it's easy. It's like, you're allowed to be annoyed by the holidays and what it impacts you, without being annoyed at us as teachers.
Yeah, I don't think we don't even need to go into detail about how teachers do work in the holidays. I think that's so commonplace. Everyone knows that now, and everyone spouts that rhetoric all the time. Oh, I'm working in the holidays. Yes, okay, we all know that. So, but do you think everyone works in the holidays? Do you think it's just all teachers? Because everyone says it like that. Oh, all teachers, we've always got tons of work to do in the holidays.
I've got two main points to make here about teachers in the holidays, and again, I love talking to their listeners like this every now and then, because I think about who our audience are. I know our audience are predominantly teachers, but I know we've got a big following of people who aren't teachers. And I love just opening this up to people, because this is what I think about holidays. Essentially, if you break it down as a teacher and the work you've got to do on a holiday, okay, my first point is it is not remotely comparable from teacher to teacher. So if you've got one teacher coming up to you and saying, I've not got any work to do this half term. You cannot then take that as gospel and say, well, look, teachers don't even do bloody work in the holidays. I've got a friend who's a teacher who genuinely doesn't do any work in the holidays. So therefore, what a cushy job. Yeah. No, because we've talked about this a million times. It's the lucky
The conclusion a lot of people say, draw from that, is that one teacher that's not got any work to do in the holiday is clearly doing their job efficiently and right, and everyone else therefore isn't doing their job efficiently and right.
Yeah, and that's just not true. And again, there are layers to this, because there'll be people in the same school, right, who do a varying different amounts of work, right? But and that is down to the individual teacher a lot of the time, okay? Because the expectation might be exactly the same, but there'll be one teacher who simply feels like they have to for whatever reason, or simply wants to do some work in the holiday. But there'll be another teacher who thinks, right, I know I've not got to do it in this, because I know I can do it in my PPA in the first week back, or I've already done it in my PPA because I wanted to clear this schedule. Teaching is very autonomous for a lot of teachers as to when they want to do their work. However, what does not help, and I'm going to move on to this point very quickly, because we've established it's down to what school you're in, it's down to what's expected of you, it's down to what kind of teacher you are. I also don't think we should ever, as people who aren't teachers or people who are teachers, take someone's word for gospel and compare. I don't think we should compare. I don't think that the amount of work someone does in their holidays should ever be a barometer for the amount of work everyone should do. Whether that's someone not doing any work, so no one should do any work ever in the holidays. Nothing annoys me more than when someone who's not even in the classroom turns around and says, oh, don't do any work in the holidays. What do you mean? Because I've got to teach on Monday when I go back. So how can that happen unless I've got some work to do? Or similarly, there might well be an SLT in a school that I work for that have expectations of me to do something, and I know my life will be hell if I don't get it done, and I'm in this toxic work environment. And you saying to me, oh, don't do any work, is going to make me more stressed. That doesn't help me. So I think it's really unhelpful sometimes when people try and be genuinely nice. It doesn't actually help, because do you know what? As a teacher, I know what work I've got to do. And it might be a bit, and it might be nothing, or it might be a lot. I know how much I want to do. I might want to go above and beyond and make this amazing display, or I might want to invent this new way of doing times tables because I got inspired by watching this reel on Instagram, and I thought, wow, that'd be brilliant, and I wanted to spend my time doing it. All power to them.
Well, if we go back 8 years, right, if we could just go and look at ourselves 8 years ago and look in the Easter holidays, we would see us two working almost every day and loving it.
Yeah, exactly. That's the important thing.
That's not the case now. It's different. You know, our lives have changed massively since we started teaching, and our interests have changed massively. But 8 years ago, I didn't want anyone to come to me 8 years ago and say, "Don't do that," and like belittle me for choosing to go above and beyond in my job. I was really enjoying it, and I was in that honeymoon period of teaching where I did live and breathe it. My life was I was a teacher. That was my whole personality at that point, and I loved it. And that's okay. I don't think we should stomp on people who do that. It's like Dylan was saying, the problem with culture in education that's so toxic is we use that as a bar setter all the time in teaching, and it's so annoying. Like, some more experienced teachers listening will know this because you've seen it happening.
We saw it happen against us when we were young. Like, we'd have teachers, wouldn't we, in the staff room? You, especially you, because you've always, Hayden's a workhorse. You've listened to this podcast, you know, and he was, when he was younger, my goodness, he'd spend every hour under the sun working. But you would have this really cool thing that you'd make for everyone, right? But you would see the older generation in staff meetings genuinely rolling their eyes and huffing, like, oh my God, like, why? Okay, it's great. Because do you know what happens? And everyone's seen this. I've seen this in every school I've worked at, by the way. This is just a generic thing, and it's human nature. Someone does something above and beyond, and it'll be mentioned by someone else even in a meeting saying, well, actually, no, let's say you're Lauren, whenever they do, you know, we're trying to keep track of reading. You're Lauren, she writes every single word count up on the board so they can see, and she'll change it and update it every day. And isn't that a really that's awesome? And it is genuinely really good. And it's like, yeah, you know, that does like give them a little carrot, and they can see how many words they've read, and that's awesome. And then someone will go, yeah, why don't we all do it? And it's like, what do you mean?
It's nice, but it is another 10 minutes on my day every day.
Exactly. And you know what? If Lauren wants to do that, because that's part of her culture in her classroom, and she wants to encourage reading in that way, and that is bloody brilliant.
Yeah,
it is that hinge there where we turn and we go, well, why don't we all do that?
Yeah. Oh, the baselines are whoop.
Exactly.
The bar's higher. Yeah, and that is a perfect analogy. You've got to imagine that happening tenfold.
Yeah.
All the time in education. It's completely unregulated. Every school's different. Like, it's got so mad now that, you know, it is a gamble where you work. You can't even work it out now, like what your workload is going to be like, unless you literally go and speak to the people that work there and they're honest with you. But it's a gamble. You can go and work somewhere where that bar is already just up here, because, you know, they got a few people that work really hard, great, but SLT are like, cool, that's the expectation now.
Yeah.
And then you've got other places where SLT are way more understanding. They're like, no, here's the baseline. Thank you for going above and beyond this individual person.
Yeah.
This is still the baseline for everyone else, though. So, you know, you need to at least do this. Great idea over here. If you fancy doing something more, it might have a good impact. Still the baseline, though, you know, and, but... It
comes twofold though. Like, you do get from the top down. That's the worst version of it. Where the top down, there'll be someone in charge who'll see something and go, "We're all doing that from tomorrow. That's fantastic."
Yeah.
It might be fantastic, but it's just unreasonable to have that. No kind of. We talked about the workload balance kind of task force. That would go completely against that, because it wouldn't be balanced against time.
Yeah.
We wouldn't. If you're going to introduce something new like that, I think you have to look at something that isn't working and drop it, and then. Teachers don't mind doing new stuff. I love doing new stuff. And I think it's a real misconception, even amongst other teachers. And I've had it personally before where I've said, guys, we cannot do this change unless we're going to drop something else. And I've said before, I've said to the whole staff team that I work with before, we have to realize that me as a year 4 teacher in our current setup of how we do sets and classes, and you, Hayden, in a year 6 and the way you do your sets and classes and expectations, what we need to do as a school is not pretend that this is equal. Let's not pretend. Let's not do this thing that all educators do where we just kind of nod and go, oh, well, I'm in year 6 this year and I've got sets where I've got to do all my own planning. But in year 4, we share workload for English and we don't have the SATs preparation. Let's not pretend that's the same. Let's not pretend that over the holidays, it might be in some schools that the expectation is that year 6 teachers do SATs boosters. The expectation is that you got to plan. The workload for planning maths and English is usually bigger than the workload for planning anything else because it's so intricate and there's so much. So when year 6 are doing more maths and English than anyone else in the school, they're also planning more than anyone else in the school. They're also assessing more than anyone else in the school. Let's not pretend then that in the holidays we have an equal hit at it. So we have to be outwardly saying this is happening and let's tackle it. Let's not accept it.
I'll give you some real context for this, right? Which is depressing, really. I was messaging my head of year. So I'm in year 6, as you just said. That wasn't that was real.
That was real, yeah.
And I was messaging my head of year, who's also a really good friend of mine. And saying, we were talking about reports because she'd noticed that she was like, "Oh, you've done your reports already?" Because
2 Saturdays of the way through a year.
See them on the system, yeah. And I was like, "Yeah, I've been working on that. I hadn't finished at that point." So yeah, I'm going to get them finished this holiday. And then I was just saying to her, I was like, "Yeah, you should really consider it. Like, it'd be like I've used this tool and it's been great with this new system we've got at our school. You should think about getting yours done as well, like rather than next half term." And her response genuinely was, "I won't have time." And it not because she's doing things, but because her whole Easter holiday is already filled up with...
Oh, not because she's doing personal things.
No. It's already filled up with other work to try and get ahead on. Planning, and SATs. It basically is encompasses all of that, and a little bit of marking catch up as well. Yeah. And I just thought, oh man, imagine having
There's only one reason, by the way, that she is doing marking catch up and you aren't. Yeah. It's because when you were doing marking before, she was doing something else.
Yeah. Because again, that comparison between the year groups, even in the year group, the comparison between my workload and my head of year's workload is incomparable. Yeah, completely. She's doing stupidly more work than I am for, pennies more, because the pay is terrible in teaching in terms of like extra responsibilities. They're like, oh, here's £1,000 for the whole year. And
it's laughable.
There's like 50 hours extra a month, and I'm getting
it's about £50 a month after tax.
Yeah, it's stupid,
and it is laughable. When you see how much stuff costs at the minute. I think overall the point there is you cannot compare teacher to teacher. You cannot compare school to school. You cannot compare within a school. Yeah. And I think we are, as a profession, we sleepwalk into these problems and ignore them. Yeah. And I think as soon as we as a profession understand that, we actually can have control. Because I was really shocked. I'd be interested to hear what people think about this, because I was really interested, I guess, and shocked. Let's say shocked, because I was. When the response to me saying that. So I said, this is not an anecdote. This is really what happened. And we were talking about well-being. Our school's fantastic, in my opinion, especially recently. We've gone through Ofsted. We all know it was a really tough time for teachers. A lot of planning, a lot of workload. And there's been a real push now, post-Ofsted especially, to be like, right, we really want to get it right, because we know...
our workload went up and up, but it dripped up.
And everyone in the school understands that. SLT to the bottom. We all know that. So everyone now is on the same page trying to fix that. And one of our staff meetings was simply about well-being. And it wasn't one of those that we did some yoga and got head massage. It was actually, let's sit down. There's no SLT involved.
Open forum.
Let's talk about it. And, my eyes lit up, because these are the moments that we don't always get as teachers. And I've worked in schools where this would never happen. And we were very grateful. And that was exactly my point was, I was just saying to people, we want to change, let's say we want to change English completely now. And there'll be head of English who are doing a fantastic job at doing research, going to training, getting evidence informed. Cool. Fantastic. What we can't do though, and I was saying this to everyone, we can't just say to people, willy-nilly, the English leads now have just decided we're going to change everything. Because the problem with that is, okay, cool. Well, I'm the maths lead. We're the maths leads together. We could have been simultaneously planning to completely overhaul times tables in the school. And we would have the trust in the school to just do that. And it's a really good level of trust that we've got. And we could do that whenever we want it. But also, by the way, the afternoon curriculum that we've just spent ages planning has made some tweaks, which means every single lesson needs tweaking now. Yeah. All of these things happening at the same time is unbelievably tough for workload. And that is where we need to step back, look at the workload reduction thing, and we need to, as a whole school, look at what everyone wants to do, plan it out in a way that's systematic and spread out and doesn't overload workload. All of that everyone kind of agreed with, I think. Yep. But what really shocked me, and I want your opinion on this, was there was a bit of pushback when I mentioned that there's a difference between year groups. There was a bit of pushback where like, I just said, but it is like hours and hours of work. And let's not forget, guys, this is work. And we all have a fantastic attitude to wanting to help children as much as possible. But until we kind of break down that barrier of, this is a job though, right? And I'm getting paid as a 8-9 year experienced teacher, the same as you. Well, I know we're slightly different where you're a year more experienced, but let's just say we're the same, right? We're just at the same level. We both take home however much money every month. Yeah. But we then just pretend that it's okay that someone else does 10 hours more work a week. That's not okay. And someone else said, but we can't start tallying up hours and comparing it. And I was like, yeah, we can. No, we can though, can't we? Yeah. We just have this culture of, oh well, you've been put in year 6, you got to work hard this year. Yeah. Oh, you in year 3. I think, having not taught year 6 properly, from my point of view, year 3 is the hardest year I've ever taught in a junior school when they come up for an infant school. It's so hard. It's so mentally draining. Yeah. And they were like, well, it's more mentally taxing doing other jobs rather than the amount of time you put into something. Okay, cool. Maybe we are getting into the realm where it's hard to compare them. But we absolutely can just say that I have 2 hours of planning a week and you have 6 hours of planning a week. That's not okay.
And that's not my choice or your choice.
Yeah. That's not okay, is it?
No, not really. In a real job, think about it. I always do the Tesco analogy. Yeah. Which is, you've got 2 employees in the same thing. Oh, you got to stay for another 4 hours.
You've got to do 6 aisles. I've got to do 2.
Yeah. Well, and that's not even that's more like, okay, if one of you's really quick though, you can still go home at the same time, maybe. Yeah. But it's more like, no, you're working till 10, you're working till 6. Yeah. Oh, am I getting paid more? No.
Because by the way, everyone in this analogy actually works from 8:30 till 4:30, and then it's just potluck how much work you have to do after that.
Yeah, it's potluck. Yeah,
it's unbelievable, and it goes to holidays.
We've gone off tangent a bit, but yeah, we talked. Go and check out our workload episode actually, because that was again one of our best ones, I think, where we just really got into the nitty gritty of the problems with workload as a teacher. It's a good listen.
How many times, very quickly, I'm going to do this point really quick because I know we have got off on a tangent, but I've enjoyed this chat. One very quick point: how many times do you think you've seen a child in the school holidays out when you've been doing something and they have been absolutely shocked that you exist in a form other than Mr. Stevens?
At least, like, in my whole career, like 50 times, honestly. They're always shocked. And most of the time, they don't want to speak to you. It's so funny, isn't it?
Yeah,
considering I can have such a nice relationship with them at school.
It's one of two.
But they see you on holidays. But I get it, though, because it's like, it's different, isn't it? Because when you're with your teacher and when you're with your parents, you are just a different kid.
We know that from parents. We know
that. So it does just break their world a bit when they're with their parents behaving one way, and suddenly they see their teacher, who they probably behave differently for. Yeah. Is like,
most of the time better.
Yeah, probably. And I'm like, they're probably like, oh God, I don't want to see them because I'm going to show my parents how I behave to this person. It's weird.
One of two. Either you get back after the half term and they're like, I saw you in Tesco, and you're like, where were you?
Yeah.
Or you're walking down the street and you hear, Mr. Price.
Yeah.
Mr. You don't know where they are, but they've seen you a mile away. They're shouting like, come on, see you, Mr. Price. Hello, Mr. Price. Never in the middle.
Do you like it?
Not now.
Do you not? I secretly love it still.
Not now when it's like shouting across the room.
Yeah.
When it's like, if it's in Tesco and they're shouting, I'm like, oh, just come and see me. Yeah. When I just see them, I love it. I love it more than them.
That's what I meant.
Yeah.
No, I still love it.
Oh, I thought you meant the actual act of love them shouting across the...
Especially ex-pupils. I love seeing my old pupils. I don't know. It's like, I've spoken to a lot of teachers don't like it, actually. They find it, they're like, oh no, it's cringe. I don't want to. Yeah. I love seeing pupils that I've taught in the past. It's one of my favourite things.
That's just a quick thing I want to talk about. So, Hayden, people have listened to this.
Yeah.
How to manage holidays. We've talked about everything. Yeah. How do you actually manage to switch off then? Like, ignore the fact that we've got young babies and stuff right now. Just think about, in the holidays, there'll be people out there going, okay, that's cool, but I can't switch off because... We've just talked about it. I've got 17, lessons to plan. I've got a deep dive coming up. Like, I know this is happening at some point. I cannot switch off. How on earth can I do it? How can I switch off?
So we're speaking to those people now, aren't we? Not the ones, because you know what? If you don't want to switch off, and we made this clear, I want to make it really, really clear. If you don't want to and you enjoy doing that work, good for you. Carry on. Do what you enjoy.
But this is someone who has to do work and really would rather just have a holiday.
Now we're speaking to us and the other teachers that are in that position. It's a tricky one, isn't it? Because there's not a magic solution to this. But you've got to stand your ground a bit. There is a line, and I think you just need to know your rights a little bit as well. As a human being who is working you're trading your time for money.
It's a job. It's a job.
It is a job. It's a job. Of the day. Like, no matter what you can call it's a vocation. Okay, well, I don't care what we call it. Yeah. It is still a job. You are trading time for money. Your services for money, right? There's got to be a point where you got to stand up for yourself a little bit and put your foot down and be like, nope. I worked this amount of time during the term time, which was overtime every single week anyway. I've worked as efficiently as I can. That's the first step. If you're not very efficient and you know you're not, try and work on that first. We talked about that before. Yeah. Not everyone's going to be... Not every teacher is going to be perfectly efficient at their job. So if you think you're not very efficient, okay, work on that first because you might be able to get more done at your time at work. But if you're there already and you're in the holidays now, I think I've got tons to do. First of all, prioritize it. What needs to get done? What's the most important thing for doing your daily job, right? For example, for me, if I didn't plan lessons for Monday, then I wouldn't be able to teach. I've just got to do that. I have to. There's no way around it. I've got to plan the lessons.
No amount of someone saying to you, just don't, is going to help.
Yeah, you have to. And you have to as well. That's just tough. That's you've got to do it.
Part of the deal.
You've got to do it. But I can almost guarantee you there are other jobs that you could probably just leave to your first PPA. Or even, do you know what? Just not do it. Be a bit of a rebel because if you think, is it going to affect my teaching and learning? No. Is it going to affect the kids? No.
Have I already done 10 hours overtime this week?
Yeah. Yes. Okay. No. Can they fire me over this? No, they can't because they're because if your SLT remotely say to you, why hasn't this thing been done?
Oh, you're directing my time.
Yeah, and the only expectation was that you've got that done in the 2 weeks that you've just had off, right? then you just say to them, oh, when was the directed time that I was meant to do that?
Completely.
Then they'll never have a comeback. I don't care how savvy and how like bullshit your SLT are. They will not do anything.
Well, here's an example, right? I've had someone message us. We're going to do a Q&A at the end because we got some Q&A asked for a Q&A section. And one bit of a spoiler, we'll talk about it more, I guess, later on, and we'll give her some advice. But we can kind of do it now as well.
Okay.
About to have deep dive, okay? And feeling really stressed. So the context I'm going to take from that is, okay, you've got SLT. It's the last week of term 4, just before the Easter holiday. And they say, oh, first week back on Monday, we're going to have a meeting with a school advisor. She's going to come in. And we want to go through our action plan for this subject. Okay, so that's booked in on the Monday. It's Friday now, so can you just get that done for me?
Yeah. My advice is, right, firstly, you need to have the confidence, I think. You need to build the confidence in yourself to say to them on the spot, it has to be straight away, okay, when would you like me to do that? Because if their response is Easter holidays, then okay, cool. You can disregard them as a nice human being now, because what the hell are they talking about?
No, but they're really lovely. Because this is the point she was saying as well. Her ST are lovely.
Okay.
There's just issues.
Then the chances are that either you're wrong and they're not lovely, because actually if they say do it in your Easter holidays, they're not as lovely as you think they are. Or 2, if they are actually lovely, they'll immediately recognise this.
Come on, but it's the only time she can come in. It's the only time she can come in. So we just need to get it done.
Or is it? It's okay. Well, I've got plans. This is the holiday.
Yeah, it's as immovable as your holiday.
Yeah, you've got to consider it as that, and just say to them, okay, can I have some time out? I think teachers sometimes need to be a bit proactive. We treat our SLT like they're our parents, and they have to organise everything for us and baby us. Yeah. We are adults at the end of the day. We can also just say, and just assume maybe the SLT, who's got a million other things to think about, just has overlooked this for a second.
It's not malicious. Yeah.
They're not malicious. And you just say to them, okay, cool, that's going to take me probably like 3 or 4 hours. Can I have some time out I can see on the Monday, on Tuesday, the diary's a bit more free. You've done a bit of work for them. Okay, that's fine. You up managed a little bit. That's not, you can do that. It's not a problem.
Because they've got 57,000 jobs.
Yeah, and that's fine. And if they say yes, then problem solved. It didn't need to become a massive problem. If they say no, don't do it. Don't do it in the holiday. It is as simple as that, because they've got no leg to stand on.
So when the meeting comes in this situation, if that meeting comes along and you go to it still because the person's booked in and you don't have that plan, do you know what you do instead? You use that meeting to come up with a plan with the person. Like it becomes your time to do that job which you've been told to do over your holidays. No, you've got the person there. Okay, you don't have it to talk through. I guarantee that person will be like, okay, well, let's have a think. Yeah, that person's there to advise it. Like, they don't care.
And they'd understand if you just said the sentence, oh, I only found out about this at the start of the Easter holidays, so obviously I haven't had time to sort it out yet, but maybe we can look together. It doesn't need to be the awkward thing, because what I do is I build up the worst scenario in my head,
made up,
of this crazy awkward conversation where I'm the really unconfident weak one, and they're all so confident that they'll patronize me in my face. Most people aren't that confident. No. Even on the spot, even if they're thinking, oh, for God's sake, why haven't they done the work? They won't even say it to your face in that moment. They just won't.
And do you know what? If they do, they're not worth the time of day. Yeah. They're genuinely not. You're right. If they actually have a problem that you haven't spent 6 hours in your holidays doing this work for them, they are the problem. Yeah. And remember that. Don't think you're the problem because you want to have a bit of a backbone and some time off. Honest to God, 99% of teachers I've met do more than enough work already. Yeah. So if someone actually has a problem with something not getting done, that is that arbitrary, that can just wait, then that is not your problem. Don't let the broken system and the broken funding education and the broken everything that we don't have enough time to do our job affect your mental health.
Yeah. Work to your needs. No. I really do think that. Work to your needs. And like we said, everyone's different. You might just want to do it. Okay, do it then. If it's really not going to affect your holidays that much and you're thinking, no, I don't mind doing it, do it then. Who cares? If it's not affecting you, then do it.
But the problem then is, do not expect the history lead and the geography lead and the art lead to have done the same thing over holidays. It's not reasonable. And if you want to do it in your own time, okay, it doesn't mean everyone else has to. And if then you've done it in your own time...
It'll be your time you're wasting.
It'll be your time wasted. But if you've done yours in your own time, and then week 2, you see on the diary, they're booked out for art to do the same thing you did for history. You can't then be resentful because they went and asked for time and got it.
Yeah. I agree.
Like you have to be proactive, and like you said, yeah, it might be frustrating that SLT have said yeah, sure to that person and didn't do it to you. But you know what? It's probably because the art lead went and did it. I've had it a million times. Like, again, I'm not trying to throw people under the bus I've worked with, because I really like my colleagues and people. But I have had people to my face tell me before that something happened, or I got something done as maths lead, or we introduced something, or I was allowed to do something, right? Anything that I've been allowed to do. And they've said to me, oh, just because you're a bloke. And I've been like, no, it's because I went and asked for it.
Yeah.
Did you go and ask for it?
No.
Like, no.
No, because they would just tell me, no.
Yeah. Oh, no, because I went and asked for it and they said yes. Have you asked them for it and they said no? No. Well, then it's nothing to do with me being a man.
It's not a comparison
like,
anymore.
It's not, And okay, well, you're only confident enough to do it because you're a man and you'll know you'll get it. Maybe we're getting into a conversation that's worth happening at that point. But do you know what? Until you've actually gone and done the same thing I did, don't say it's because I'm a man. That's really annoying.
The bias doesn't come into play until we've done the same thing.
Yeah.
And you've got no, and I said yes. Yeah,
it frustrates me.
It's annoying, and there is, and we're not going to pretend there's not a bias towards men.
Of course,
there is an advantage of being a man.
Absolutely,
100%.
Absolutely.
It's built in cultural bias.
It just frustrates me when that's the go-to when something's different. It's like, well, is there a more obvious reason why I got time out? And it's because I put a request in for it.
Yeah, that's much more likely than
or did the SLT go, well, he's a man, he needs time out. His time's available. Probably not, because do you know what? The SLT is a woman. So, I don't know. I just think it just frustrates me. Like, if take away all of the gender stuff now, that was just a side point. But if you, as a teacher, aren't actually doing the minimum, which is, are you efficient with your time? As you could possibly be. Are you spending an hour chatting after school? Because I used to do that and then get annoyed I didn't know my stuff. Have you asked for help? Have you said no? They have to come first. The world's not going to bend to you in this profession.
No. And I know I mentioned it earlier, but managing up is a thing, and I feel like teachers just don't really do it. In loads of other professions, you get people managing up all the time. And it's not a bad thing. You don't have to then be resentful. Oh, I had to go and ask for this time. It would have been nice if it was just built in for me. It's like, it would have been nice.
Yeah,
it would have been nice.
Yeah,
but they are just a human being doing a job at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And if you managed up and they still gave you that time, do you know what? It shows that their intentions probably weren't that bad. Because if they really didn't want to give you that time, they would have said no to you when you managed up as well.
I wonder how much of teacher resentment and annoyance is through misunderstanding and miscommunication. Rather than actually burn. I think most of it, I think that we can't pretend that we've got enough money for stuff or enough time to do stuff. But I think there's a lot that we could solve by just being more open and less timid, I suppose.
Yeah. I think there are a lot of SLT, but I think it's the minority still who are just genuinely not very nice people.
Yeah, very minority.
And they would say no, and they would have not planned it, and they will just we've been there. We've been there where people like we've worked with people who just absolutely abuse their power and will just work people to the bone, not caring about their well-being.
Because the outcome is simply they got stuff done.
Yeah.
And I've heard stuff before of, I've heard stories of these kinds of people in SLT almost bragging about how much work they get out of their staff.
Yeah.
And it's like, you're a horrible person.
Yeah.
Like if you genuinely are just like, that's your end goal, is just how much work can I eke out of these people without any kind of sentience of looking at your staff and thinking, well, they're all burnt out and half of them have left. It must be them that's the problem. No, probably not.
I'll finish with one analogy because I love this thing and I think about it all the time and it really impacted me, and I think I've said it on the podcast before, but I'm going to say it again, which was when early on in my career when I was getting a bit burned out and I was genuinely struggling to get the workload done even on the weekends and holidays, right? Because I was just setting this stupid bar for myself.
Was this when you had to plan everything from scratch, or is this just because of your mentality of
just mentality mainly, but also it was at that kind of school where we were just expected to do a stupid amount of work, like unholy amounts of change all the time. And being quite fresh to teaching, I was like, I must do all of this to the best possible level, which was completely unmanageable. It was taking up all my holidays and stuff. And I was speaking to our deputy head at the time, who was someone I very much admired then. I still do now. I just don't speak to them. But at that time, I was thinking he's a really, really, really nice person, genuinely nice. And I just said to him, I was being honest, and I was just venting, saying about how I'm struggling with all this workload and stuff. And I've got to get this done, and the head teachers now asked me to do this, and my year group leaders asked me to do this. Oh. And he was just like, and this was weird coming from the deputy, he was like, oh, just don't do it. And I was a bit sort of taken aback, thinking, surely he's someone that's going to be telling me to do it. Like, he's the deputy head. Yeah. He was like, oh yeah, no, just don't do that or that one. And I was like, but you've sent an email out saying they've got to be done. Like they've got to be done.
Yeah.
And he was like, no, they haven't got to be done. He was like, just don't do them. I was like, what? He was like, if they need to be done, they'll email you again.
I don't know.
My
gut there is that's not very useful.
No, I know, but he was joking around. But he was the serious point behind it was stop taking everything on this personal level of like you have to get this thing done because someone else has now told you to do it. No, you've already got a massive list of jobs to do to do your daily job. All of these things if they're coming in your own time, then they can't actually dictate you to do those in your own time. So do you know what? If it's your weekend and you've done your entire job and you've still got this list of things to do that people are saying for you to do, don't do it. And if it's that important, they'll email you again next week. And if it's really important, they'll say, we really need this done. We've booked you some time out to do it now because we really need it done and we can see that you're so busy.
I think I get it completely because again, it's basically about being proactive about your time. Yeah. But the thing that frustrates a lot of people is, you need to do that to protect your well-being. Like there is I think there's a certain argument there to say, to protect my well-being, I shouldn't have to be that proactive to ignore instructions from my superiors at work. And then for my superior at work to turn around and say, oh, I know I've said do it, but don't. That to me is gaslighting. Like that is the definition of being a bit of a gaslighter, because you're not implicit. If you actually think that in the email, what should be said is, this needs to get done. Let me know if you have time. I know you don't. So actually let's book it. Let's skip all this play where I kind of hope you push yourself to your well-being limits and do it for me. Let's skip all, because that is all that's happening by me not saying that in the first place. If I already know, you don't actually have to do this. I'm playing a game right now to get as much work of you as possible, knowing that 20% of the people will just ruin their weekend to do it for me. I know that they don't have to, because I'm telling you. That's actually really annoyed me, and I think that's terrible. Wow. And I think what you are doing there is basically playing the game. And I see this all the time, and it boils my blood when really, really, really good people, excellent teachers who really care, are the ones who do the most work ever because they don't want to let anyone down. And the people who are exploiting that are the people who simply don't think about it and like, oh, well, I am a lovey-dovey person. I'm very nice. I would say not to do it. Yeah, but you didn't. And every week, this happens. You know that they work themselves to the bone. You know they've done 6 hours of art leadership planning over the weekend, and you're just grateful they did it. And you know full well that the maths leads won't do it, and we'll just give them time. There comes a point as a leader where you know that's happening, and if you're not proactive about it, you're actually enabling it.
There's got to be systems in place. Yeah, I think for people to be treated
but
fairly.
The system isn't you've gone to moan to deputy and they've said, oh, actually don't do it because you've come to moan.
No, but I think you've blown out of proportion in terms of what really happened. No, I think you've made a separate point.
I've made a separate. I'm not actually. Yeah. I'm actually not talking about.
I think just going back to what his advice there was, what he was actually saying to me was, stop putting everyone else's job at the top of your priority list. Learn to prioritize and learn to say no. I haven't got time to do it.
I think I've seen.
That's what he was saying.
I think I've seen the other thing happen to a lot of people, and I've just got frustrated. Basically. Yeah. But have a backbone yourself and say no. But there does come a point where actually, like we were saying beforehand, there are people who brag about how much work they're eking out of people, and it's like, when it's at a detriment of their well-being, it's nothing to brag about. Yeah. You are in control of that.
I agree. Anyway,
well. That was a good chat.
Long episode.
I like that. We've got a quick Q&A. We're still going to do it.
Oh, yeah, go on.
Because I'll whiz for it. So we'll play the jingle. We'll whiz through the Q&A. Guys, please follow us on Spotify. Share this podcast. Please share it. Please. Please. I didn't. Share it. Let us know what you think and message us and show your friends. And let's grow this podcast. Thank you so much. We've got a jingle. We're going to do a Q&A. Stick around. It's great.
Oh, my God.
Right, quick one to finish off, Hayden. On our Instagram, which you can follow us at Teach Sleep Repeat Podcast, please do. We have over 3,000 followers now. I love talking to you guys on there, genuinely, and Hayden is no longer involved. So, I did a little Q&A. So my question, I did a few polls and stuff about what you're getting on in the holidays. And my Q&A was simply, quick Q&A. Send us a question. Doesn't have to be related to teaching. It can be, whatever. And we got a whole bunch. I'm going to read out a few now as quickly as possible. Okay,
cool.
So I'm not going to name drop them because I never said I would. You might want to be anonymous, some people. So if you hear your question, message us and tell us you heard the question. First question.
3 hours. 3 hours.
First question. This is going to be quick, guys, because it's a long episode already.
Tell them how quick it's going to be one time. Quick, go on. It's going to be quick, this one.
Okay. When will the government increase funding? We're stretched to the limit right now.
Never. They'll never do it. They'll never do it.
Do you think an election will actually change things?
No,
because I don't either.
No, 100%.
Hasn't
ever done in the last 20 years.
No, but it has. It has. New Labour put so much money into education.
No, the last 20 years.
Yeah, because it's the same Tory government.
That's what I mean.
Okay, so my point is, if we get a brand new party and a new government, do you actually think it will change?
On the fence.
Yeah.
I think with this current party, I'm not convinced at all. I think Labour are not remotely fit for purpose.
They're playing it way too safe, in my opinion. Next one. What would your death row meal be? 3 courses and drinks.
Chicken roast dinner.
Starter?
I need a starter.
No, that's your starter.
Yeah, starter will be chicken roast.
This is like I'm a celeb, isn't it? When they sometimes as a starter and I'm a celeb, but they'll have like a burger. They're just playing the game.
Yeah. Okay, my starter is chicken roast dinner.
Okay.
My main is a nice Nando's.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Anything in the world? You've gone for Nando's?
Yeah, I just love a Nando's.
What's your order from Nando's?
I'd get my 4 chicken thighs,
Yeah.
medium.
Yeah.
Medium. I'd get, the hot sauce goes through me.
Yeah.
I'd get
Anything goes through you.
garlic bread. 'Cause I like, you know what I like to do.
You are so basic.
You know what I like to do, don't you?
Halloumi sandwich.
No, halloumi. I like to put 2 of the chicken
Oh,
thighs
sure.
in the garlic bread. Make a garlic bread sandwich.
I make a halloumi sandwich. I get a halloumi side.
Fair enough. Same sort of thing. And peri peri chips. I'd have that as my main. And then for my dessert, I'd probably have an Indian. I'd have a full curry.
Stick of that, no sugar, baby.
Oh yeah.
Drink.
Oh, I don't care about drinks.
Curry sauce.
Yeah.
Mayonnaise.
I don't know. Fanta. There you go. Done.
Okay, cool. Nice.
You doing that?
I would have for starter.
Move on.
I actually don't know. For starter, I would have probably. What's my favorite starter? Do you know what? I'm a bit boring. I do like a good soup when you're out in a restaurant.
good soup. That's
I do.
a meme, isn't it?
But no, my starter would be some banging chicken fillets.
Soup.
Some banging chicken fillets that are like southern fried Texas in some like sweet chili mayonnaise dip.
Yeah, nice. So
My
KFC.
starter- yeah, KFC. My main was quarter-pound burger. No, my main would be a fat roast. I love a roast dinner, but I wouldn't not just chicken. I would want like all the meats: bit of chicken, bit of gammon, bit of lamb.
Cooked by me?
Oh my god, yeah, you could do good gammon. Or caramelized onions, caramelized parsnips. Oh my god, mash, creamy mash.
Oh baby,
roast potatoes, broccoli. Oh my god. Swede, I love mashed swede with pepper. I'm actually salivating.
Quick section.
I'm sorry. And for dessert, I would have a massive chocolate fudge cake. And imagining that it doesn't have any sugar in it. I love chocolate fudge cake.
Moving on. Next question.
One. What's your favourite Easter egg?
Something Cadbury's.
Anything Cadbury's?
Anything Cadbury's. Probably. Fruit and nut.
Okay. Do you miss the fact that they don't come with mugs anymore?
No. I was like, what a waste of money. Mugs going in the bin.
We're teachers. We do not need any more mugs.
No.
Cadbury, yeah. I mean, I didn't have an Easter egg this year. Because of obvious reasons. I managed to stay. So my favourite Easter egg is clean sugar. I said,
it's a clean bowel.
I said to this person, I replied, said, I'm doing nose sugar at the minute, and I meant to say no sugar. And they're like, you got something to tell me? Nose sugar.
Nose sugar. Wow.
This next one I'm going to name drop because he is your friend who we met and went to Nando's with. Who's doing some writing at the minute. He's
Mr. Woman.
Mr. Woman. He asked, this is really interesting because he's doing a book on this. So he's he said he's going to listen and
cool.
hear what we said. What would your most useful superpower to have as a teacher be?
I know.
I thought it was a great question.
He's told me about this, but I'm really looking forward. Mr. Woman, by the way, writing kids' books at the moment, friend of ours, ex-teacher.
Yeah.
Really cool books, and I'm looking forward to this one.
So he said his was hypnosis.
Hypnosis.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Would you get the kids to do what you want? Do your work. Can you imagine like the teacher look, but it was hypnosis? Just give them the look, and they're just like crack on.
I don't. Give me more time here. What would did you have an idea?
I don't know. I think personally, as a superpower, I think for me it would be something where I could just basically engage the kids. This sounds ridiculous. I don't necessarily think it would be something that can help me with my job. Like I suppose slowing down time would help with the job a little bit, wouldn't it?
No,
but
I think
if it was showing off, I'd be like super strength. Or flying.
I think I want to have water pistol hands.
Here we go.
I think that's what I want. I'm trying. That was the first thing that came to my head, and I thought, "Come on, you can't say that."
Of all the things,
and now that's all I can think about. I want to be able to go psst, water pistol hands.
What, water all over the book?
Yeah, imagine that.
Yeah.
How funny would that be?
Brilliant. Well, sorry, mate. If Mr. Woman, if you were thinking of getting some ideas for your book, there you go.
Wait, listen.
We got the death row question quite a lot actually, so I'm going to skip over that one. As in, what would your meal be? Not do you want to go on death row?
No.
This one I thought was such a good question. What do you wish you were taught in your teacher training that they did not cover?
Not to be a teacher.
Because
to get out of this game.
Here's your first class on what you could be doing instead.
What do I wish I was taught as a teacher?
I thought that was great because we've talked about how much we're taught. That is so useless. I've still got a paper mache tortoise that I made in my DT lesson. It's like, didn't help me learn how to do DT.
I don't know. I honestly don't. I feel like I learned nothing about teaching in my teacher training.
For me,
really.
I
would do behaviour maybe. Like my behaviour management was terrible when I started.
Yeah, behaviour management was poor.
I did not learn enough about really taking that seriously.
I would like to have learned what to do exactly if a bee flies into the classroom. No one prepared me that first moment.
What if a dog steps on it?
There are about 3 people listening who'll understand that.
My dog steps on a bee.
My dog stepped on a bee. My dad knows Tai Chi. Right, next one. This is linked to what I said earlier. How this is a really interesting way of putting it.
How?
How do you actually get out of being a deep dive subject lead? because they're due Ofsted and they just can't cope with the pressure.
How'd you get
I was like, wow. I mean, I wish I could tell you.
My honest advice would be go to your SLT, depending on who they are, and say exactly that.
Yeah, completely.
I am crumbling under the pressure and I'm going to quit teaching if I have to carry on doing this job. It's killing me.
Yep.
And see what they do.
Link to the next question then. So I have a primary teaching degree.
Quit.
Well, listen to this. What other career paths can I go down? So this person's thinking of going down, doing the master's route, which I know you did.
Yeah.
And I replied basically saying, you should do that only if you want to put it off for a year because it doesn't actually help that much. Like you said, you enjoyed the process.
Yeah, it was good laugh.
It didn't actually help your practice too much.
No, not at all.
Or going into the army or something. What would you do if you got a teaching degree? Do you know what? I'm going to answer this myself first, give you a minute. I would honestly ignore the fact you've got a teaching degree. Don't let that sunken cost fallacy come into play where you're like, well, I've got a teaching degree, so I've got to use that somehow. Okay, if you actually don't want to do teaching, the worst thing you can do is try and shoehorn teaching into something. Pretend you didn't do that degree, even though you've got the debt and stuff. Again. It's annoying. Just to go and do an apprenticeship somewhere.
Do you know what I would
whatever
do
you want.
Now, being more experienced in life. Obviously,
if you were this old, or you got
if it's right now, I'm answering these questions right now, what I'd go and do genuinely find something I'm interested in, which for me is like computery stuff. I'd go and learn to do coding. I know you've been interested in I'd go learn to do coding or something to do with software engineering, software development, because I just find that sort of stuff interesting.
I think
I'd enjoy it.
So much stuff online,
and it's high pay if you get good at it as well.
Yeah. And it's you can come into that late. Yeah. You really can. You can just learn it because there's not many people learning. I've been learning how to do a bit of Python. It's really hard. It's really hard. The snake, Jaffa cake, is it a cake or a biscuit?
Cake.
Yeah, it's in the name, isn't it?
Cake. It's very cakey.
It is cakey, but it's in the biscuit.
It's called cake and it's full of cake. I think it's a cake, I reckon. Is there any crunchy biscuit to it?
No. Is a rich tea biscuit a biscuit?
It's a crunchy biscuit. I reckon it's a biscuit. Yeah, I reckon the cake is a cake.
I'm sorry I ever asked that question.
I'm being a troll.
I think it's a cake though as well, and it is in the name. Last one. I'll just finish this one. What's your go-to snack at school, pre and post sugar?
Well, it's the same thing. Even post sugar, I'll still eat the pre-sugar. A yum yum.
Oh,
a yum yum. I love it. When someone brings in yum yums, I'm like, yes, I'll eat 2 of the 4.
Yeah, and there's 4 people in the team.
Oh no,
the last 3 have to share 2 somehow.
And post, I don't know, because I'm so addicted to chocolate that nothing is nice.
Yeah, I used to get a pack of 4 ice buns from the co-op, and I'd eat 2 before I got back to school. I'd eat 1 on my walk to my classroom, and I'd sit down and be like, "Oh, a nice bun."
And when you're eating the last one, you'd say, "Oh, I only got 1, mate." Sorry. To me when I asked for 1.
Yeah, and there's the pack of like empty with room for 4. God, sorry, buddy.
I don't know. Do you have a snack that you enjoy eating now that you've been off sugar for ages, or do you just not eat snacks?
I just don't eat snacks now. Genuinely,
probably an apple. I'm not gonna lie. I actually really like apples when I've not eaten loads of chocolate.
Well, on that unbelievably boring note of apple being your favourite snack, we're gonna round up there.
As the apple of your eye, let's finish up this.
Right, guys. Thank you for listening for this long. Hopefully, it's been a useful one. I've quite enjoyed that. The title's going to be like a pow 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 because we covered so much. And
what is the title? I want to know right now.
The title.
The exact title that you're
going to. The title is